What's going on, everyone? The 2022 Lakers roster looked phenomenal on paper. I mean, arguably one of the greatest teams ever assembled on paper. Problem is, all these players are out of their prime, they were all old, and a lot of them were on the decline. I mean, even Carmelo Anthony, right? He was out of the league a couple years ago, came in. Dwight Howard has been a journeyman and is not the same player he once was, and the Lakers were very lackluster last season. But nonetheless, this team, again, on paper, looks phenomenal. So what would they have looked like in their primes? Imagine a prime Dwight Howard, a prime LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Carmelo Anthony, and Russell Westbrook. Imagine the five of them in their primes. What level would this team be? Would they be one of the greatest teams of all time? Would they be the greatest team of all time? Would they be, just a terrible team because it's too much talent to put together? Maybe they'd clash too much and it just wouldn't have worked out. But what about the 2019 Golden State Warriors? You had Steph, you had Klay, you had Draymond, you had Kevin Durant, and you had Damarcus Cousins. But again, this was a team that Damarcus Cousins wasn't prime Damarcus Cousins anymore. He was coming off of injuries, was having a hard time finding a team. Well, what if these guys were all in their prime? What if they were the best versions of themselves? You had prime Kevin Durant, prime Damarcus Cousins, prime Steph, prime Klay, prime Draymond. What if these two teams could reach a crash course to play each other? I mean, both of these teams are phenomenal. And obviously the Golden State Warriors without DeMarcus Cousins won 2 championships, and injuries really derailed them from three-peating, which many believe, myself included, that they would have beaten the Toronto Raptors had they not got injured. I mean, Klay, Steph, Draymond, Kevin Durant, they were all injured. DeMarcus Cousins was doing what he could. Steph was playing on one leg. It was an absolute mess, and they ended up losing that year, and then Kevin Durant leaves, and it just became a disaster, right? They fell apart until the Golden State Warriors were able to get Klay back and win the championship this past season. But nonetheless, this team on paper, again, is phenomenal, just like the Lakers. So who would win in a matchup between these two teams? Just 5-on-5, 7-game series. Let's say we have an absolute showdown. You're talking Westbrook versus Steph, Carmelo versus Klay. You got LeBron and KD, Anthony Davis and Draymond Green. Dwight Howard, prime Dwight Howard was an absolute beast and monster against DeMarcus Cousins, who was, again, phenomenal. These two teams would also be playing very different styles of basketball, right? The Warriors definitely have more shooting than this team, but this team has a lot more size down low and guys that are multifaceted type of guys. I mean, if you're talking like Miami Heat LeBron, that was just an absolute monster and a menace. Anthony Davis in his prime, which he's still in his prime, but let's say, bubble Anthony Davis, that guy was top 3 to 5 in the league. You're talking about a guy that could just do everything, block shots defensively down low. That would be a monstrous team. And then prime Dwight Howard, a guy that could get you 27 a night, 15 rebounds, 5 blocks. DeMarcus Cousins would have his work cut out for him. And Dwight Howard was just an absolute, just athletic freak in so many ways. This team would be crazy athletic with the prime Westbrook, LeBron, and then as well as Dwight Howard. Carmelo Anthony, he was on par in his prime with Kevin Durant as far as scoring prowess. There's always the comparison, right? Who was better in their prime, Carmelo Anthony or Kevin Durant, as far as scoring goes? Carmelo Anthony was a phenomenal scorer. I think Kevin Durant is better overall just because of the height, stuff like that. But Melo, it was no slouch. He could have went toe-to-toe with Kevin Durant scoring-wise. That fadeaway, that jab step, that first step, I mean, it was phenomenal. Seriously. But you have Klay Thompson, you have Steph Curry, you have Kevin Durant. You have a ton of absolute just lights out shooting. And I really do think it would be quite an interesting matchup. I think this might be one of the closest matchups as far as past, how would the Bulls do, the 96 Bulls do against, the Warriors, or this Lakers team against this team. I think this would be the most comparable as far as matchups go, because I think both of these teams, full primes, would be just evenly matched in so many ways. And I think it would come down to who could execute better, chemistry wise. I think the Warriors would likely have more chemistry, but again, you have Westbrook. he was an absolute menace, right? A guy that gets you a triple-double. He would have the floor spacing with Melo. LeBron Davis, Bubble Anthony Davis was knocking down threes at a serious clip. Dwight Howard down low. You could get the lobs, the pick and rolls, all of that stuff. I just think that the Lakers would have a height advantage, and I think that they would be able to do more on the court, where they have the size to kind of cause problems for this Warriors team. And I just think each of the individual guys do more on the court than the Warriors. But chemistry, skill sets, shooting, stuff like that, I think would really be a factor. Also, what would the coach look like? Let's say it's Steve Kerr versus Phil Jackson. So then who do you think would be the better coach? Right? If we're talking about greatest coaches in Golden State, greatest coach in Lakers history, I think that would be fair. So, Phil Jackson versus Steve Kerr, the battle of the minds as far as coaching-wise goes. And I do think that the triangle offense would really benefit this Lakers team. If it was like, these two teams just go out, no coach, no nothing, we're just going to put you guys all together, I want you to go out and play, I think the Warriors would win handily. Just because I think that they would fit more fluidly than this Laker team in their prime. But I think with the proper coaching, the proper schemes, things along those lines, I do think the Lakers would win this series. I just think prime Dwight was just a nightmare. Seriously, he was an absolute monster. Prime Anthony Davis, I would take 10 times out of 10 over Draymond Green. LeBron prime is better than Kevin Durant prime. Melo, I think overall is better than Klay. And then Steph is better than Westbrook. But Westbrook was, again, athletic freak, monster, just that guy that gets you triple doubles, gets you boards. I just think that the Lakers would get so many second chance opportunities, so many rebounds, and just better defensively down low. Then on the other hand, this Warriors team, they wouldn't be shooting a lot of down low scoring. You wouldn't see a lot of on the block scoring. It'd be a lot of threes, perimeter shooting. Like, how well would Dwight be able to play out on the perimeter? Although you can make an argument, the Orlando Magic team, back when they were on their title run back in 2009, that was like the Warriors before the Warriors, right? A bunch of shooters, some of the best shooters in the league. Hito, JJ Redick. You had Jameer Nielsen. You got a bunch of really great shooters out there on the court. And then you had Dwight Howard down low, just gobbling up everything on the rim, getting putbacks, getting rebounds, running it down the court. And so you'd have an interesting matchup because it's like, how well would Dwight be able to step out? Because you could bring Damarcus out of the paint. He can knock down the three. Although Dwight would be able to keep up with him, I do think, because, again, Dwight Howard in his prime was crazy athletic, crazy fast. He was a monster. So I don't think it would be too much of a mismatch. Anthony Davis, he could easily step outside with Draymond. He's had to guard Draymond on several occasions. So I don't think that would be an issue. And then everyone else would be able to be out in the perimeter. So I just think that depending on the defensive schemes, this Warriors team may struggle. The size might be too much for them to handle, especially the down low presence. As great as Draymond is and as great as prime Damarcus Cousins was, which I think it would be an interesting shoving match down low between Cousins and Dwight Howard, both in their primes. But I just think Dwight Howard was just so athletic, and his eye for the ball defensively was just on another level compared to what we've seen now. He's really declined a lot compared to prime Dwight Howard. But Damarcus Cousins, again, is no slouch. He's a guy that could do everything. He could dribble, bring the ball up court. He can knock down the three. He could get it in the low block. He was a menace in and of himself. He is a better all-around offensive player than Dwight has ever been. But I think that the matchup would be pretty interesting to see. I think Anthony Davis would just gobble up Draymond. If you're talking bubble Anthony Davis, I just think that he was playing at such an elite high level. I don't think Draymond would be able to keep up with him. I just think he was too explosive. He was knocking down the three at a serious clip. He was hitting it from everywhere on the court, knocking fadeaway game winners and stuff. I just think that would be a big problem. And Draymond would be a lack of liability scoring-wise. Where the Lakers, they have all their guys could easily get 30 a night. All of them. All 5 of them. Where I don't think all 5 of these guys can get 30 a night. I think 4 of the 5 can. I just think Draymond's not a guy that can go and get you 30. But him playing the point forward can make things interesting with all their screens. And I don't know. I think it would be a really interesting matchup. And I just thought this was something that would be really fun to kind of talk about, explore, and have those conversations. Because all of these guys in their prime Kevin Durant, prime Draymond, Klay, Steph, and Damarcus Cousins, that is a monstrous, scary team. But the prime Lakers, just prime Westbrook, Carmelo was just, that dude was on another level. Seriously, that dude is so underappreciated. Miami LeBron was, arguably the greatest player ever at that point. I mean, he was, especially that, 2017 year, I don't think there was ever a better season of a player ever than 2017 LeBron. That dude was an absolute menace, a monster defensively, was just locked down, getting you 27 to 30 at night in and night out, getting the assists, getting the rebounds, just an athletic freak of nature. Same thing with Anthony Davis, bubble Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard. I just think that this team is too athletic, too big, could beat you on so many fronts besides just three-point shooting. I think the Warriors would really struggle in this series. The one Achilles heel for the Warriors have always been size. Although their shooting is just so great, they've always been able to overcome it. But this size is a different kind of size. You're talking an athletic freak in Westbrook, LeBron, Davis, and Dwight Howard. Carmelo has never been just crazy athletic, but he's just been so skilled, the fundamentals, this, that, and the other. I think it would be a really fun, interesting matchup. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation and make this video. And as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Which team wins in their prime? The 2022 Los Angeles Lakers or the 2019 Golden State Warriors? Which team in their prime would you like to see go to head-to-head? And which team do you think would come out on top? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.